Practical Anarchy, A Guide to Self-Determination, Dickie Dredd. Section 78. Non-violence and violent process. Anarchism has long wrestled with the question of whether liberation can be achieved without violence. Mainstream portrayals often collapse anarchism into images of bombs and riots, echoing the late 19th century's propaganda by the deed. Yet alongside these militant traditions sits a parallel current of non-violent anarchism, one that insists the means must preconfigure the end. Non-violent traditions within anarchism. Leo Trotsky's Christian anarchism rejected state authority, is inherently violent, and called instead for radical pacifism rooted in conscience. His writings influenced not only Russian dissidents, but later figures such as Gandhi, who, while not an anarchist, adopted Tolstoy's ethics of non-violence into the strategy of satyagraha. In the US, Dorothy Day and the Catholic worker movement carried forward a similar spirit, combining communal living, mutual aid, and pacifism as living critique of state violence. More recently, groups like Extinction Rebellion in the UK have insisted on non-violent civil obedience as both a tactic and a moral stance, framing disruption of airports or banks as legitimate so long as human beings are not harmed. Arguments for militant resistance. Others within the anarchist tradition have insisted that non-violence is not enough. Sabotage of property, from the Luddites' destruction of machinery to syndicalist strike actions, have often been viewed as a necessary tool of resistance. Here the question arises, is damaging infrastructure violent, or is violence only that which harms living beings? Contemporary anti-fascist groups argue that physical confrontation is unavoidable when communities face fascist street violence, echoing the militias that resisted Franco or defended Rojava. Peter Galdalus has argued that strict non-violence protects the state by narrowing resistance to forms it can easily contain. Contemporary balances. Climate movements are currently revisiting this dilemma. Groups debate whether puncturing SUV tyres, disabling pipelines or occupying airports counts as legitimate resistance or dangerous escalation. Animal liberation networks likewise distinguish between rescuing animals, non-violent, and destroying property used for exploitation. In both cases, states often punish non-violent protest more harshly than corporate or even violent crimes. Hypocrisy already noted in earlier sections on policing. Anarchist synthesis. Anarchism ultimately leaves the choice of tactics to communities themselves. Non-violent mutual aid remains the foundation of everyday anarchist practice, yet movements under existential threat, indigenous defenders at Standing Rock, Kurdish fighters at Rojava, Zapatista communities in Chiapas, class war at Stonehenge Festival in 1986, have also taken up arms when necessary. The tradition therefore resists a single answer. For some, non-violence embodies the anarchist prefiguration of a society without domination. For others, violence against property or militias defending territory are pragmatic necessities in a world already drenched in state violence. What unites these perspectives is not agreement about but autonomy. Anarchist groups choose for themselves whether to blockade with flowers, sabotage with hammers, or defend with arms. In this pluralism lies the real distinction from the state. Tactics are not dictated from above, but emerge from the collective decisions of those already involved.